In today's video, I'm going to show you how to create this really cute lace stitch using a single bed knitting machine. We will begin transferring using a three-prong tool. Beginning in the very center is kind of a starting point for every repeat. We will begin with the 3 stitches on the right side of number 0. So we're going to grab those 3 stitches and transfer them all together 1 stitch to the right. This way we've emptied a needle, and here if we count 1, 2, 3, the 3rd needle received a 2nd stitch. I will repeat the same on the other side. I'll grab the 3 stitches to the left side of number 0 and transfer them all together 1 stitch to the left. And you can see now that we've emptied the 2 needles right in the center. We will continue transferring like that. And now if you want to know where to do the next transfer, you can see where the needle with 2 stitches is, so that needle that received the 2nd stitch when we did the first transfer. Skip 1 from that and grab the next 3 and transfer them here, so that the needle that we skipped here, right next to the needle that had 2 stitches, will also receive a stitch. So what we want to have after this transfer is 2 needles with 2 stitches right next to each other. In this way, you know you've done the transfer correctly. So now I will continue with another one to the right side. So I will empty again 2 needles right here. And I will continue on the other side as well. This is the needle with 2 stitches. I'm skipping 1 and then I'm grabbing the next 3 stitches. And I will transfer them to the right, so that the needle that we just skipped will receive a 2nd stitch as well. And of course you can continue this for however many stitches you have in work. For this sample I have 34 stitches and I'm going to do about 3 repeats. I'll make sure that the needles that I just emptied will stay all the way to the back, so I'm forming a 2 needle ladder and I will knit 1 row. Next we will do a transfer using a 2-prong tool. So now it's easier to visualize. We will just grab the 2 needles that are right on either side of that ladder and we will transfer those 1 stitch to the right. We'll do the same on the other side. And now I have 4 empty needles there. Again, make sure that the needles that we've just emptied stay out of work and knit 1 more row. And lastly, we will do 1 transfer using a 1-prong tool. Again, we're grabbing the stitch closest to the empty needles. And what you will notice is that every time we are transferring, the same 2 needles are the ones to receive a stitch, either if we're transferring with a 3, 2 or 1-prong tool. So this is just something to keep in mind and to ensure that you're doing the transfers correctly. What we have now is 6 empty needles. We'll make sure that these 6 needles are pushed all the way back, and I will knit 2 rows this time. The reason why we are knitting 2 rows is because now we're going to start forming stitches back on those needles that we emptied before, and it is more difficult to grab the purl bar if we had previously done a transfer. So that's why we're knitting 2 rows. And what I mean by the purl bar is this little loop here that we see in the back of the stitch. We can push our tool through. And we're grabbing that, placing it onto the closest empty needle. And I'll repeat that on both sides. This is a really neat way to form a new stitch when we don't want to create an eyelet. And now instead of having just 2 needles with a stitch here, we have 4. Maybe it's a good idea to also pull the needles all the way out in case you feel too much tension on the needles. And we will knit 1 row. The next step is to transfer the stitches that we formed previously. We'll grab those using a 1-prong tool and just transfer them 1 stitch to the left and to the right, like so. I'll make sure to put the needle that I just emptied back in work, because this time we do want to create a little eyelet. And we will knit 1 row. Lastly, we will do another transfer just like we did before. After this transfer, we can just place all the needles back in work and knit 2 rows. We have completed half of our repeat. For the next part of the pattern, we will do the transfers in the exact same way as we just did here, but the only thing we will do is we will be staggering the repeat, which means that before we empty these 2 needles in the very center on the left and right side of number 0, this time these 2 will be the needles to receive a stitch. Right here is the needle on the right side of number 0. I'm going to skip that and grab the next 3 stitches and transfer them all together 1 stitch to the left. We will do the same on the other side. The needle on the left side of number 0, skip that and grab the next 3. Transfer them all together 1 stitch to the right. And continue the repeat across just like we did previously. Basically now, everywhere where we emptied the first 2 needles, those needles are the ones to receive the second stitch now. Again, make sure that the needles that we just emptied are all the way to the back or out of work, and knit 1 row. Just like we did previously, we will transfer the second time using a 2-prong tool. And the last transfer using a one-prong tool. This was the last transfer, so we will be knitting 2 rows. And we are ready to begin forming stitches again. Sometimes pulling either the needle backwards or the stitch down might help make this a little bit easier. So just practice and see what works for you. So that was it. We completed one repeat of the pattern. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video and you'll give this stitch a try. As always, if you do, make sure to tag me on Instagram and I will see you in my next video. Bye bye.